The Freedom broadcast will continue with the news segment. This is our time. Mikhail Baranov is in the studio. Hello. Russia launched more than 180 drones at Ukraine last night. More than half of them were Shahids. According to the Ukrainian Air Force, 154 Russian drones were neutralized. The attack was repelled by aviation, anti-aircraft missile troops, electronic warfare and drone units, as well as mobile fire groups of the defense forces. Ukrainian soldiers showed how they destroy UAVs. Got it. 29 attack drones were neutralized in the sky over Dnipropetrovsk region. Russian forces attacked the Kryvyi Rih district. 2 people were injured. They are now in the hospital in moderate condition. Russian troops also shelled Nikopol and Marinets. They fired from Grad rocket launchers and artillery and used FPV drones. There are 3 wounded there. Civilian infrastructure was also damaged, including businesses, about 15 private homes, a 5-story building, cars, and a gas pipeline. 2 communities in the Sinelnikov district also came under Russian shelling. Fortunately, there were no casualties. Chernihiv region is once again under attack by the Russian Federation's army. Several settlements were affected. 12 Shahids attacked a freight train on the Nosivkinizin railway section. Part of the railway and Ukrzaliznitsia's warehouse infrastructure were damaged. There were hits on an energy facility in Mizin, and the city is experiencing emergency power outages. Russian occupiers also struck a fire station in Semenivka. The roof of the administrative building caught fire there. During the shelling, the rescuers were in a shelter, and no one was injured. Kherson has been under Russian military shelling since early morning. The occupiers are firing with artillery, mortars, multiple rocket launchers, aircraft, and drones. Residential buildings have been destroyed, and critical infrastructure facilities have been damaged. In the Korabelny district, 2 people were killed and at least 2 more were injured. Russian troops continue to heavily shell the Sumy region. One of the drones hit a residential house in the Krasnopil community. An entire family was injured, including a 4-year-old girl. Her mother and grandmother were hospitalized. The child suffered severe burns, and doctors are fighting for her life, according to the National Police of Ukraine. They also reported that as a result of the Russian attack, 6 apartment buildings and 7 private houses were damaged in Sumy in the region, as well as a service station, a car dealership, and a trolleybus. Later, it became known that in the Sumy district, after Russian strikes with guided bombs, 2 people were killed and 3 more were injured. After the massive shelling of the Sumy region, the situation in Shaska is critical. Due to strikes on the energy infrastructure, the city is experiencing power and water outages. After repair work, gas supply was restored. To help civilians, invincibility centers and field kitchens have been set up. Every day, several thousand people receive assistance there. Our next report is about the work of rescuers and volunteers in the Sumy region.
At the invincibility centers in Chaska, rescuers from the Sumy region have set up field kitchens with hot meals. In conditions of power outages and dropping temperatures, this is significant help for local residents, especially the elderly and displaced persons.
Friends, right now I'm on the roof of the maternity hospital where a Russian Shahid drone struck. Once again, I can tell you, they have nothing sacred. Striking a maternity hospital is pure brutality and genocide against our people. Right now, rescuers are dealing with the aftermath of this terrible strike. And we brought them hot food and water to support them and the women who were here.
Ola Bibikov is a professional chef who, after the start of the full-scale war, dedicated his culinary skills to helping those in need. In Sumy, as the weather turned colder, the volunteer project food truck resumed its work. It's a large cargo trailer converted into a field kitchen.
Here is the refrigerated table. Here you can see some cabbage. Here you can see chicken already with sauce. And here we also have cabbage and chicken. Our cooks are awesome. Here is some oatmeal. This is the prep that will be loaded into the kettle. Here we already have oatmeal in the kettle.
During the full-scale war, the food truck operated in the Chernihiv, Kharkiv, and Kherson regions. Now the volunteers are in the Sumy region.
These are IDPs, people who have been displaced from Yanikivka, Krasnopilia, Bilopilia, and Myropilia. These are pensioners and people who need hot meals.
On average, this field kitchen prepares up to 2,500 servings a day. After heavy shelling of Sumy and the region, the number of servings distributed increased to 5,000.
In terms of weight, that's 500 kilograms of meat and 1,200 kilograms of porridge. Every day, well, approximately. Sometimes there's less porridge, depending on the type of grain.
Lydia Fedorivna was forced to leave the village of Makritsia on the border of Sumy region with Russia because of constant shelling of residential houses by the enemy army.
They were drones, KVs, they destroyed school.
They dropped drones, they dropped KABs. They destroyed our 2-story school. They hit it once, hit it a second time, then started burning our houses. It became even scarier. The kitchen is really awesome. It's a huge help for us. And how can I put it? These are very compassionate people.
Right now, Oleg Bibikov's team has 6 volunteer shifts. He hopes that soon they'll be able to increase capacity and launch another mobile kitchen like this one. They plan to send it to another area near the front line.
The chefs do their best for us. They cook well. The food is tasty. We like it. The main thing is they help people who really need it.
About 9 hours on the road, and the food truck can move to almost any point in Ukraine. And just 2 hours later, it can start serving hot meals to those affected by Russian attacks. Alexei Baranovsky from Sumy region for Freedom TV channel.
"1,010 Russian servicemen were eliminated by Ukraine's defense forces over the past day. Thus, the total losses of the Russian army have exceeded 1,118,000 people, according to the General Staff of the Armed Forces of Ukraine. According to Ukrainian military sources, in the past day, 2 Russian tanks, 5 armored combat vehicles, 26 artillery systems, 1 air defense system, 1 multiple rocket launcher, and 75 vehicles were destroyed. The number of clashes on the front line is increasing. Over the past day, the General Staff of the Armed Forces of Ukraine recorded 200 enemy attacks. The situation remains difficult in several directions, particularly in the Toretsk sector, where 18 Russian assaults were repelled, and in the southern Slobozansky sector, where the enemy made 29 attempts to break through Ukrainian defenses. In addition, another 32 attacks by Russian occupiers were thwarted on the Novopavlivka bridgehead. The most intense section of the front remains the Pokrovsk sector. The Ukrainian Armed Forces stopped 46 assaults by Russian troops there. Military experts also note the counteroffensive successes of the Armed Forces of Ukraine.
And note that it is precisely this tactic of the Ukrainian Defense Forces that currently allows them to keep 33% of Donetsk region under control, which is a failure of the Russian tactics and, more importantly, the political plans of the Russian leadership regarding the capture of the Luhansk and Donetsk regions in the 4th year of the war. And at this point, even the interim goals of the so-called special military operation have not been achieved.
The President of the United States, Donald Trump, will take part in a closed briefing by American intelligence agencies. The meeting will take place in the Oval Office of the White House in just 2 hours. The press will not be allowed at the event, and the topic of discussion is not being disclosed. It is worth adding that this will be the second such briefing for Trump since the beginning of the month. The details of the previous briefing were also not disclosed by the administration of the American leader. China is joining what is being called Russia's shadow war against Europe. This was reported by Bloomberg. We're talking about intimidation campaigns, cyberattacks, and disinformation. And this is affecting the European continent from almost every direction. Meanwhile, Ukraine's Foreign Intelligence Service has recorded instances of China providing Russia with satellite reconnaissance data to carry out missile strikes on Ukraine. Kristina Dombrovskaya will tell us more.
Chinese ships were involved in damaging cables in the Baltic Sea, according to Bloomberg. On November 17, 2024, an underwater communication cable between Lithuania and Sweden was cut. The next day, the cable connecting Finland and Germany went out of service. According to the Finnish company Cinia, it was severed by an anchor or a bottom trawl. In addition, China has ramped up cyber espionage, aiming to weaken the unity and influence of the West.
Chinese cyberattacks have become more ambitious and widespread. Western officials claim there is a growing symbiosis between Russian and Chinese disinformation campaigns. Whatever their differences may be, both China and Russia want a weaker, more compliant Europe. From a Bloomberg publication.
Another worrying sign, as Bloomberg analysts write, is Beijing's reaction to Europe's calls to pressure Russia to stop its aggression against Ukraine. For example, Chinese Foreign Ministry spokesperson Guo Xiaokun accused, as he put it, other countries of fueling Russia's war against Ukraine. In his opinion, Russian aggression allegedly began because of regional security disputes in Europe. Meanwhile, the Foreign Intelligence Service of Ukraine has recorded instances of China providing Russia with satellite intelligence data to carry out missile strikes against Ukraine.
There is evidence of a high level of cooperation between Russia and China in conducting satellite reconnaissance of Ukrainian territory in order to identify strategic targets for strikes. Moreover, as we have seen in recent months, these targets may belong to foreign investors. Oleg Alexandrov, officer of the Foreign Intelligence Service of Ukraine, in an interview with Ukrinform agency.
The Ministry of Foreign Affairs of the PRC denied this information. However, on October 5th, during a Russian attack, at least 3 Chinese reconnaissance SAR satellites flew over the western part of Ukraine, according to the Militarnyi portal after analyzing data from the Heavens Above monitoring service, which tracks satellite movements. As analysts from the British agency Bloomberg noted, China's interference in European affairs is far less aggressive than Putin's. It is specifically Russia's actions that have led to increased tensions and the need for rearmament on the European continent.
Putin's Russia is becoming increasingly repugnant. The political system has turned violent and quasi-fascist. The economy is fully mobilized for war. Putin is forging deeper ties with other U.S. adversaries, such as China and North Korea. He believes his country is already in an existential conflict with the collective West. From a Bloomberg agency publication.
German Chancellor Friedrich Merz is convinced of this. He noted that Putin is striving, and I quote, to turn the political order of Europe upside down. He added, it is precisely in Germany's interest to defend it. And when asked by German journalists whether Putin is waging war against Germany, Friedrich Merz replied, he is waging a hybrid war against us.
He, Putin, is waging an information war against us. He is waging war against Ukraine, and this war is directed against all of us. We will not allow ourselves to be intimidated and will defend ourselves effectively against this threat.
Earlier, Friedrich Merz stated that Russia may be behind the launch of most drones in Europe, including over Germany. He called the number of incursions into the airspace of other European countries unprecedented, even compared to the Cold War period. According to the Chancellor, protection against drones falls under the jurisdiction of the police, who are currently not sufficiently equipped for this task. He also recalled the revision of the Air Security Act, which will grant the armed forces the authority to assist the police in shooting down drones. Kristina Dombrovskaya for Freedom TV Channel.
Russia is waging a hybrid war against Europe. This was stated by the President of the European Commission, Ursula von der Leyen. According to her, the EU must look for new ways to counter Moscow. Von der Leyen also emphasized that we can either stand aside and watch the escalation of Russian threats, or face them together calmly and decisively.
The very last, delicious steak and Spattelwurfsam.
Make no mistake, this is part of a troubling picture of growing threats. Across our entire union, undersea cables have been cut, airports and logistics centers have been paralyzed by cyber attacks, and elections have become targets of malicious influence campaigns. These incidents are designed to remain in the shadows of denial. These are not random acts of harassment. This is a deliberate and escalating campaign aimed at unsettling our citizens, testing our resolve, dividing our union, and weakening our support for Ukraine. And it's time to call things by their proper names. This is hybrid warfare, and we must take it very seriously.
In turn, I pointed out that Russia is actively using its so-called shadow fleet tankers not only to make money for its ongoing war against Ukraine, but also for extensive intelligence gathering and even dangerous sabotage activities in Europe. Break time equals 0.5s/.
Our intelligence is actively working with partners to prevent Russia from using so-called shadow fleet vessels to carry out sabotage and other attempts to destabilize Europe. We are providing all necessary information to our partners and expect that the response to Russian interference will become much stronger. Right now, the Russians are using tankers not only to make money for the war, but also for intelligence gathering and even sabotage activities. This can absolutely be stopped. Volodymyr Zelensky, President of Ukraine, on Telegram.
Subscribe to The Gaze and stay updated on the most important events, top news from Ukraine and all over the world, in-depth analysis, exclusive reports and interviews, all on hand in our channel. Join our community of viewers and stay tuned.